My name's Eddie Winters. You're tuned into the Rock and Roll Coup d'etat. Jeremy Wheat in the hot seat. Jeremy,
oh man,
are you excited? I am excited. We've been talking about
it
all morning long. We're excited to bring on one of the most legendary and sensational drummers, a Hall of Famer,
rock and roll hero,
a hero to us all. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my great honor to bring on Doug Clifford to the program. Doug, how you doing this morning?
I couldn't be too much better.
Oh, I love it. We got some applause for you. I want to bring that in for you. Welcome to the program. Excited to have you on.
Yep.
Doug, we've been talking about it all morning. Creedence Clearwater Revisited. You guys are currently doing a slew of shows. I guess this is we're catching up with you on a break, but you've been at it for a long time, just doing the touring, presenting the music of Creedence with you guys, just representing it and doing such an astounding job. Tell us a little bit about getting Creedence together, what it's like every night, doing these shows, and continuing, keeping this busy schedule.
Well, it's first and foremost, it's a dream that came true. Oh gosh, some 45 years ago, and started actually 10 years before that. So it's 50 some odd years that we started playing as the Blue Velvet, John, Stu, and myself.
Right.
We were 13 years of age. So
gosh,
Tom Fogerty came in with an idea, a concept to make a couple of tracks, lay a couple of singles down, and go to L.A. and try and find a record company that liked them. And his band didn't want to do it because they weren't getting paid. There weren't any chicks there, and so they'd rather work on their cars. That's prototypical musicians, so they say. Well,
right.
Anyway, we weren't prototypical, and we weren't musicians yet, but we had instruments, and we jumped at the chance when he offered us a chance to go in and record. And we did, and we started that process, and if it wasn't for Tom Fogerty, I wouldn't be talking to you right now.
Is that right?
Onward and forward, that's another story.
Right.
Then we had unbelievable success. The dream came true 100 times over.
Of course.
And that didn't last too long, but the good news is we made a lot of music in a short period of time. So
the legacy is incredible.
The legacy is there, and that's what drives me and Stu, I know, as well. We go out and we look out on our audience now, and we see 3 generations out there.
Right.
And, they're all having fun. They all have reasons to be there. Old memories, making memories on the spot, new memories, things like that. And the people love it, and we love it. We love these songs. We love to play them. We play them from our heart, and the dream continues.
It's amazing because you guys have been doing playing together for the last, correct me if I'm wrong, 20 years out on tour, doing, going out there and bringing these songs to the fans, and it must be just such an interesting kind of thing, because Creedence, the time together originally was a very short period, and you've had this great opportunity to go out and do it. What's that like for you? Stepping out there every night and getting to sit behind the drums, playing these songs that you did when you were a lot younger, and still being able to just bring the heat to the stage.
Well, it's the fans, the people. Bring the adrenaline package for me. I'm an adrenaline junkie. I love playing these songs, and it's the reaction that we get. That's what a musician does when he's playing in a concert. That's kind of the art side of it. The science side would be the recording side of it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And a little mixture of both. In different percentages, but there's nothing like it. I try to explain it to people. They say, what's it like? I really can't tell you.
Right.
It's just the greatest high. It's a natural high, and it's all about love. It might sound corny, but these people love the songs. They love being there in front of it, hearing it come out live, and it never gets old. I go out, I have people say, are you afraid when you go?
Right.
No, I'm not afraid at all.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited, and then when I get out there, then the adrenaline hits first downbeat, boom, I'm in the game.
You're locked in.
To
I'm
be
locked
able
in,
to,
and there's nothing like it. I mean, and I see a fourth generation emerging. I call them single visitors, 6, 7, 8, 9-year-olds out there singing the tunes.
Wow.
It's just unbelievable.
to be able to adequately convey that to someone, like they would have to relate to you as a journeyman musician, somebody who's
Right.
like done all the time in the woodshed, like played in bands all that time, and then have 90 minutes to 2 hours of songs that everybody knows the words to. You're in a very unique position to deliver the goods to people who've grown up with that music and passed it on to their little ones. I myself remember Creedence getting on my radar in the late 70s. I was born in 68, and I'm from Northern California, but my obsession with this music came up later. I remember there being a TV ad for a Creedence Greatest Hits, and then when I went to see the Twilight Zone movie, and it was sometime after that I became a big fan.
And it seems that the influence of the music is, for generations to come. It's got to be a real sensation. I want to ask about, the band dynamic when you're out there. I mean, Stu Cook. And you guys, you have been playing together for years and years. What is when you think of a rhythm section, when you think of the words rhythm section, when what comes to mind? Because you've got that relationship, that chemistry with Stu, and it fits. It's like a glove. It's like clockwork. How do you when you think of the words rhythm section, what comes to your mind?
Well, when I hear it, I think of Donald Duck Dunn and Al Jackson Jr.
Right.
There's so many great, and they were dear friends of ours back in the day.
Yeah, I don't think you're alone there, Doug.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's what I think. I don't really relate to Stu and I. I'm looking. You say rhythm section. I'm looking out at guys that had an influence on me, or that I really admire and respect. And but when it comes to us, that's kind of looking inside, really. And it's just, to me, it's pretty darn amazing.
Right.
All this time, and I just shake my head and go, it's great. I mean, my best bud since we were 13, and to be able to be out there at this point in time in our lives, it's truly it's a wonder, and for me, it's comfort. When I get up there and Stewie's off to my left side, and I'm up a little higher because I'm on a riser.
Right.
I'm looking down with it, gives the nod, ready to go. Yeah, I'm ready to go. Let's strap the helmet on and go. It's it's a pretty magic thing, really.
I've got to say, I mean, you look and sound great when you're on stage, and you look like, I mean, obviously you keep healthy and keep in shape, obviously, to do these shows, to stay on time, to keep that magic timing that you get when you get behind the drums. What do you have? Do you have any kind of regiment for yourself? I mean, as far as living a healthy lifestyle, I guess off the stage, to present that when you get on stage.
Oh yeah, I've been lifting weights since I was 15. The program has changed over the years, and I use a lot more free weights and do a lot more exercise, introducing some yoga in there. It's kind of a smorgasbord, really, of physical fitness.
Right.
I eat right. I have less than 10% body fat.
Wow.
And I get my aerobic. I live in the mountains in the Sierras, and I'm at 6,000 foot elevation, so my workouts are, most of them, because when I travel, I'm on the road. Well, whatever the altitude is there,
Right.
That's what I'm working out at. But it's something I would do if I wasn't playing drums. It's just a part of my lifestyle. I've got into it so much that it's just part of my. It's like eating breakfast. When you
Right.
get going, it's part of my regimen. So and it really does help. I mean, I couldn't do it if I wasn't in shape.
Right. Is it hard to stick with that on the road when you're doing shows and you have to go from, sound checks to doing press and things of that nature to stay focused and to stay healthy consciously?
There's always time to work out, and if there isn't a gym in the hotel, I've got a routine that I use. My backpack, furniture,
Right.
and I take an exercise ball, a 24-inch exercise ball that I blow up my mouth every day. I deflate it after the workout, and then the next workout I blow it up. And that's what that does, is it gets my lungs going. And I try to blow it up as fast as I can. I try to break the record every day.
Right.
So
Hit
I
the
don't,
high
I
C
don't
on that
slack
rubber
off.
ball.
The rubber ball. There's a song about a rubber ball, but I
Right,
think it's a lot
right.
smaller.
The circle.
A lot harder and a lot smaller. I'll leave it at that.
Right.
But I don't. It helps me in a lot of ways. It keeps me regular.
Right. Right.
It's just easy to do because I've done it for so long, and it's like breathing. So it's an integral part of what I do.
Right.
So I don't feel like working out today. If I feel that way, then I really need to work out and get the blood flowing and get the cobwebs out. On
Right.
occasion, we have special nights or birthdays or whatever, and I might have a little red wine. You know what I'm saying? So
Sure.
you gotta. That's when you really need to work out.
Right,
So,
right, to work off the red wine, I bet.
yeah, and usually I do that on a night that I have the day off the next day, but it doesn't matter. It's workout time every day. So.
I got to be honest, that's very interesting because, obviously there is a stereotype, with rock and roll, and you get guys like the Stones who portray an unhealthy lifestyle.
Yeah.
And, back in the 60s, it was the work regimen for Creedence. I know you guys were a sober working group, and you had to work on that productivity level. Is that something you've always kind of been into? Has that always been the mindset throughout the whole period of your life?
Yeah, it is. I play sober because that's the way I've always played.
Sure.
If I got up there half schnockered, I wouldn't be very good because it would be foreign territory. And I know that it has. I know what it. Frankly, I'm 70 years old. I know what alcohol does. I've seen it do a lot of damage. I grew up in a situation like that. So
Right.
It's not something that I see as beneficial. But I drink a glass of red wine every day. There are antioxidants involved in it. After a show, I like to have a glass of wine.
Sure.
But a glass, and you don't need to need to try and set a record on how many glasses of wine you drink.
Right.
That just it hurts you, and you don't recover as fast these days. So, but by the same token, the Stones are the Stones. I love the Stones.
Sure.
Their debauchery and all of it. That's who they are.
That's part of it, right?
We're something else, and I don't point a finger and say, hey, you ought to be like us. No, they aren't like us, and it's okay. Look at all the great success they've had, and they're still out there playing. God bless them. So, you do what works for you,
right?
Basically.
Now I was going to ask you. You live in the Tahoe Reno area. Is part of, and you've lived there for years now. Is part of living in with the mountains and of course the beautiful scenery. Is that part of the regimen as far as getting say mentally focused? Does that help with your your focus when you obviously on and off the stage?
Well, I've never really thought about that, to tell you the truth. For me, playing is it's a critical thing. You don't want to overthink it and get yourself all wound up. You got to sort of pace yourself so you work up to showtime. Otherwise, you spend all your energy worrying about it.
Right.
And there are places that we play on the road that aren't anything at all like the beautiful mountains that I'm looking out at right now.
Right.
I suppose it helps. Being at altitude helps because when you work out, you're in the thinner air, and all of that. That's why athletes train in altitude. But to me, the show is higher than the mountains. I mean,
Right.
It might sound weird to you, but it's really two different things. I live in this environment that is beautiful and has wild animals and bears getting their garbage can, and, things like that. But the show is a focal point. No matter where I am, if I'm in a big city, going through St. Louis or whatever, it's all about I'm out there because of the show.
Right.
And, that takes the lead spot for me. But there's nothing like living in the mountains. I've lived up here at the lake actually for 18 and a half years, and then I'd come down over the mountain. I'm still in the mountains, but closer to the airport.
Right.
When I started working again, I didn't want to drive over that snowy mountain, that little one-lane road.
A little scary.
Right. Sliding on the ice,
Of course.
Then my focus is gone. So,
Right.
but I'm still, environment is a good thing. I mean, if you're fortunate enough to be able to live where you want to, you're not tacked down someplace because that's where you work.
Right.
And if that's the case, I hope you love your job. I really love my job. I mean, I couldn't have dreamed of that better. And as I say, it is all part of that. But the idea is just to be ready to play, be relaxed and anticipating and saving it up for that 100 minutes and still do that. The bands back in the day in the 60s, the local bands. We were from the East Bay, so that
of course
we
El
really
Cerrito.
El Cerrito, and we were never in the clique side because we were married and we had kids, and we didn't. We had a sober work
Like
policy,
regiment.
and we kept it going. And so we didn't really hang out and party much with other guys. I mean, when we saw them at gigs or whatever, always friendly, but they laughed at us and called us the Boy Scouts of rock and roll because they said, "You guys are just you're a singles band."
Right.
Oh yeah, we can grind singles out. But later on, I ran into Spencer Dryden, the drummer from the Airplane,
Right.
at the 20-year reunion of the Fillmore Auditorium. Now it's 40 years or more. But anyway, he came up and he shook my hand. He says, "Man, I've got to tell you the story. We used to laugh at you guys and call you the Boy Scouts of rock and roll, but we were trying so hard to have one single. We couldn't find, find the street. We just could not get a single. And we were so envious of you guys."
Oh, of
So
course.
just to let you know.
Much
And
less a string of double A
appreciated that.
sides.
What's that?
Much like, well, you had an uninterrupted string of double A side hits.
Right.
Yeah.
You,
I know it.
you crammed another hit onto the single. So I mean,
Doubling up.
it might seem arrogant to a band that was just trying to get one.
Yeah. Well, we didn't mean to do that.
You had an embarrassment of riches.
I know,
It was a bumper crop.
Setting the bar very high.
Well, I tell you what, it set the pace very fast. I mean, it's like cutting the time in half.
I think that's
You
like
put out a single, and then you wait a while, and whatever the 8 weeks, whatever they used to run, and then you put out another one. We'd put out one, and it became two. And
you had
crap.
8 double A sides, so that's 16
Just
top 40 hits. That's pretty much the circumference of Chronicle right there.
Yeah.
That's about 4/5.
I mean, and most bands are hoping for one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which is, it's amazing because you guys, really kind of exploded and of course got to see, going from being a local band and playing the clubs and seeing a lot of great musicians. Do you remember coming up and seeing, touring groups coming through the Bay Area as you were in the clubs? Any highlights for you, as a young drummer?
Well, yeah, there were a few. I'll tell you the biggest one for me, and we had already made it, but it's such a great story. Elvis was coming to play the Oakland Coliseum.
Wow.
Whoa.
And Concerts West did all of Elvis's tours. And the guy that ran Concerts West was a guy named Tom Hewitt. He's passed, but He was a great guy. We got to the point where we wanted to be able to be our own producers for live shows, so we could pick the talent that was on the show with us.
Wow.
And try and make it fit, our life better. It makes it just easier to go out, and then you could go out and enjoy the other acts, as opposed to somebody that might be too loud or just whatever. We were picking the talent. So Elvis is coming to town,
and you thought you'd asked him.
You're gonna meet Elvis. He wants
Wow.
to meet you guys. He loves you. He's a big fan. He does some of your songs. We knew that. So we go to the Coliseum, and we're sitting up there looking, and there's Elvis. And I mean, he was one of the influences. I saw him when I was 11 years old on the Ed Sullivan Show when he was blacked out from the waist down.
Right.
I tell you what, that kind of kicked me right in the rock and roll avenue and direction. But anyway, so Elvis comes up and he goes, "I know they're out there. I know they're out there. This is for the Creedence boys." 1, 2, 3, 4, and he goes in the crowd. Man, I'm crying.
Wow.
Jeepers.
Sitting there, there's Elvis. And of course, when we hustled backstage and got to the dressing room, and Tom says, "Elvis has left the building. There's been a death threat on him. He had screwed somebody's wife, apparently."
Oh, jeez.
Whatever.
Same old same.
That's every.
We didn't get to meet him, but he dedicated Proud Mary to us. One of the highlights of my entire career.
I can only imagine. I mean, and also being just, newly into this world. I mean, being, a success in this, and then reaching the heights of a man like Elvis, who influenced, basically so many people. That must be a situation where you're outside of yourself. I mean, I could only imagine. That's
Jeepers. Well, as we were talking about before, you're kind of like the second generation of authentic rock and rollers. So the Carl Perkins and the Little Richard and Chuck Berry and Bo Diddley and so on. You're like the first generation of kids that are like, that's what I want to do.
directly influenced by it and get to.
And then every generation after it, I would say, owes something to the stuff that you guys did. But we've also been watching those clips of the Creedence gig at the Oakland Coliseum when Booker T and the MGs opened for you.
Yeah.
And that's some incendiary stuff. But what I love about it is that you guys, the whole gang, you're all like on stage in the wings. And you particularly are just locked in on Al Jackson like a kid in a candy store. Like
Al was a monster. I mean, that guy was so good.
Yeah.
And we became pals. And,
Wow.
I call it the baton. We were on the receiving end at that time. Even though we were number one on the world in record sales, we were young guys. We had a lot to learn, and we were on the receiving end of that. But we were also respected by the other side of the baton because of what we were doing. So it was a pretty neat thing. And Al, one night we were chatting, and he said, "What are your goals?" I said, "Well, I want to be a metronome." He says, "Why would you want to do that?" I said, "Well, I want to be perfect." He says, "A metronome is a machine." He says, "There are times when you're you held the finger up and divided his finger up to both sides of it, and then down the middle. Down the middle, if you're a metronome, you never leave that spot.
Right.
So it means you have no emotions. There are times when you boost that thing up. You're not ahead of it because when you're rushing, and you do the same thing coming back down. If you're coming down to a dynamic, quiet down spot,
Right.
you want to maybe bring it back, but you're not behind it. Then you'd be driving." But he opened up my eyes, and it's just don't worry so much about it. I would grind on that playing, and it just freed me up. It was terrific.
And you're helping out drummers right now.
Right.
Well, that's now it's the other side of the baton,
Where everything's mechanical.
I'm handing them out.
Right. I mean,
It's cool.
It's amazing too. I mean, a lot of drummers talk about your personal feel on the drums, your timing, your sense of groove, was there ever a moment where you were playing and getting it and it kind of clicked for you? Obviously, it was a thing you're always kind of working for. But do you have any kind of explanation for why it feels so nice to hear Cosmo Clifford on those drums, especially on a track like "Long as I Can See the Light"? I mean, you just lock it in there. Is there something that that you could describe that magic when you're sitting there playing that beat?
Well, my responsibility is to set the foundation of the song, and from there, then that kind of creates an architectural dynamic, if you will, for lack of a better term. If the foundation isn't right, well, you're gonna have problems. So when we were coming up, we would play the clubs 5 sets a night, 6 nights a week.
Wow.
And we were playing top 40. That's what radio was then, top 40 radio.
Sure.
And we also were fortunate enough to be in the Bay Area where there was real R&B stuff with the real guys.
Right.
And be able to listen to that and be able to go and see some of these guys play, even though we were underage and kind of pale. They could feel that you were there because you respected the music.
Right.
And we were able to do that, and it really made a huge difference to watch guys and just to listen to them. I taught myself to play by listening to other actually songs. In other words, I didn't go and learn a bunch of rudiments and go in that way. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's probably the right way to do it. But
right.
I listened to songs, and all the songs that I was listening to were hits. So there's something about each song that was special, and I would base my learning process on what those things were, or try to, and that's how I did it. And if there was a fill that needed a spot for a fill, it had to be musical, or
right.
have musicality with that particular song. It's got to do something. Got to move it somewhere, up, down, back and forth, whatever. But it's got to create something that's going to be of value, musical value to the song. That's how we did it. That's how we did it. John would tell me what to play sometimes, for example, Bad Moon Rising, no breaks.
Right.
Okay, fine, but I snuck a little bass drum pattern in there when he wasn't watching. And,
if it feels good, do it.
I hear that song, I hear it. And it worked. It was in places, and it was in a little spot where, it took the monotony away from that cut time. Boom, bop, boom, bop, boom. It's
right.
real easy to get bored with that. So,
right.
But it was, and then Who Will Stop the Rain? There's drums all over that solo, mainly the snare drum breaks. But we fought over that. To me, it didn't have the excitement that I thought it should have, and to move it was a very powerful statement being said, and it's almost like not quite a marching snare drum for a soldier or something like that. But the idea was, in painting the picture, to kind of imply that, and it really moved that thing along. And it's things like that. I had to fight him for it. He said, "Don't do it," and I kept doing it.
Right.
And so sometimes you win, sometimes you don't. But I thought it was worth fighting for, and it's every time I hear that song, I get a little chuckle.
Right. It's interesting because the contribution of all of the players on those original recordings, on those original songs. There's a lot of unique parts by all of the players, and there's a lot of. I obviously a lot of the credit goes to John, but it was a full band. And how was the interaction between the group? I mean, when a song was presented, you guys built it up and worked it as parts. How much, say or struggle to get a point across, like you were mentioning? How was that a dynamic in the group at the time?
Well, it really depended. We would jam if we were like in between albums or something, and John was working on things. We would jam, and from the jam, songs came out. We didn't get songwriting credit or anything for them, but we were a recording unit. And I think the big difference and the important difference between us and other bands, and that's why the songs today still sound like, it could be a new band.
Right.
The stuff still sounds fresh. We were 13 when we started. We were learning to play our instruments and learning to be a recording band at the same time. And that gave us a big boost. And being an instrumental trio, which we were, gave me a little bit more room to put fills in because we didn't have a vocal in there.
Right.
And you needed something that, if every song was going to be without a vocal, there had to be some parts that worked, that moved the song along. So I was into that type of mind frame at a very young age. Then it went the other way. Then we wanted to simplify things and keep things as simple as possible. So maybe the fill that I put in when we were a lot younger got left out.
Right.
And it worked just as well, or even better. But then there, the idea of a fill, as I said earlier, it's got to have merit. It's got to have meaning. You don't just put a fill in for the sake of having a fill.
Right.
And it's got to make musical sense with the song. And it's got to take it somewhere. So, and everybody in the band had that mindset. We were on a very fast train, and we didn't have a lot of time to mess around with stuff. I mean, we just didn't have the luxury of that. So we had to come up with ideas pretty fast.
Pretty
we
quick.
had to perfect them.
Right. And it's amazing, though, the output in such a short period of time. Now, after Creedence, you went on and played and did a lot of recordings with other artists. Was there how do I say this? Basically, without having to be the drummer of Creedence any longer, when you took on other projects, did you approach the drums differently? Did you think about, I don't have to think about things differently? What did that do for you as an artist?
Well, I didn't change the mindset. The plan is good. Don't fix it if
Right.
it ain't broke.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
the music was different, so that gave me some leeway to try some different breaks. I'm playing different styles. Comes to mind is Sir Douglas Quintet. I did 3 albums with those guys.
Right.
I produced 2 of them, and
Groover's
as a
Paradise.
producer-
That's a great record.
I miss Doug's sound. He was the most talented guy in the world, but he was like a bumblebee on steroids. He couldn't stay too long on one flower. I'm
Right.
trying to get him to focus on an album, and we've already got the material. And he says, man, I feel like going out and doing a tour with my blues band. I said, well, you can't go out. We've got time booked. We've got to do this project.
Wow.
But
The real deal.
we had a lot of respect for each other, and he would listen to me in the end, and some of the best music, and the guy could do it all. He could do it all. When he sang country, he sounded like George Jones. When he did blues, he was like T-Bone Walker. When
Right.
he did rock and roll, he was like John Lennon and a lot of other rock and rollers.
Yep.
And then he could do the Mexican waltzes.
Tex-Mex, polkas, you name it.
Polkas. Polkas. He could do it all, and he was just getting it, all these different genres to weave together to come out as one unit, but made up of all these different genres, and expertly done by one guy.
Wow.
Yeah, that was Doug Somm.
It's amazing. You know, you talked about producing. How did you get into the producing world? I mean, you know, obviously you had a lot of experience in the studio doing things, but what kind of made you go into and take that role on?
Well, Stu and I had a production company that we ran for about 8 years, and we decided, you know, it'd be fun to be on the other side of the glass in the recording studio.
Right.
Maybe not have all, you know, the kind of pressure that we were under to, you know, have a record out next week and an album out in a month and those types of things, and work with a variety of artists that we might not have otherwise had the opportunity to work with. So we did that, and you basically listen. You know, you do your homework, you listen, and then you talk to the person and do some jamming.
Right.
You know, hey, let's just play. You know, we got a studio here. We use the old Cosmo's factory.
Right.
It was very handy, and so that's how you do it. You learn, and you work on the high points of the artist, and if there's something there that might need a little love and a little honesty to, you know, straighten out, you look them in the eye and you tell them just, what you're thinking, man, and you just keep the train on the tracks and get the best result that you can from that person. Make them be the best that they can be at that moment and during that session. So it's a many hats that you wear,
right,
as a producer.
Gosh, it's I mean, it's such a well-rounded kind of, you know, having to have that, you know, taking that position, having the understanding of the studio, being able to communicate to engineers, obviously, and also to talk with the band and getting the great things out of the band when you can see it. It's such a interesting role to also, you know, have something like that under your belt. I mean, another great thing you have under your belt, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame member. You know, you've and that happened at a time, and thus right after that, you guys formed the Revisited group. Can you take us back to what made you go into to putting together the Revisited and how that all started and bringing us, you know, I guess to today when, you know, as you guys are still on the road?
Well, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame was, being a bittersweet experience.
Right.
We didn't know what was going on there. They told us to come a couple of days early. There were a lot of activities going on, so gathered up all the kids and, my wife, and as did Tom Fogerty's widow brought his ashes.
Wow.
to the Hall of Fame, and his son Jeff was going to play rhythm guitar in his absence, having passed away in 1990. It was a joyous high of high. You know, that's about as good as it gets. And what we didn't know was that there had been a conspiracy by John to not play with us. He refused to play with us, and that he would play with Bruce Springsteen, Robbie Robertson, and the rhythm section there. I think it was Bob and Jim Keltner.
Right.
What a pisser.
He had rehearsed for a month for 3 songs, and anyway, we had been cut out. I mean, didn't know about it. He didn't tell us.
And you guys were ready to roll. I mean, you were
ready to roll.
Wow.
That was the day. That was the morning of the night that we were getting inducted. I went downstairs to look at the drum kits to see which one might fit best, and also nobody had told us anything about what was going to happen.
Sure.
When do we go on? How many songs are we doing? At what time? Blah blah blah. And so anyway, when I went down there, it was like I had to play. People would look at me and they turn around and walk away. All these people setting stuff up and being busy. And I finally just walked up to this young kid with a clipboard, and I told him who I was, and said, "Can I check out some kits, or can you give me some information?" He says, "Don't you know?"
Oh, jeez.
So don't I know what?
You found out from a flunky?
Toby's not playing with you guys. He's playing with this Bruce Springsteen and Robbie Robertson and the house and in the rhythm section. And I ripped my heart out. And, I wanted to go home. I went upstairs. I had tears in my eyes, and my wife sitting there. And she said, "What's wrong?" And I told her. I said, "We're going. Let's go. Let's get out of here. I don't want anything to do with this." And so she said, "This is your night as much as it is anybody else's. So we're staying, and we'll, you know." So I told Stu, and he was living in L.A. at the time, and it was at L.A. instead of New York. Called him and told him what was up. We confronted John, and he says, "I won't play with you. I don't like you. You didn't help me get out of my contract 25 years ago."
Wow. That's,
I mean, I just stunned. What do you say to something like that?
that's a punch to the gut. I mean, it's, oof.
Yeah, it was gut-wrenching, and
Yeah.
For a nanosecond, I thought about maybe throwing one, but
I don't think that excuses
that
his
was,
bad behavior.
that wasn't in the cards. I was just so disappointed in him for doing it, and for the Hall of Fame for going along with it.
Right.
And so what happened? I always believe in the positive. That one was one that just I never saw it coming. It was just a blindside punch. So what we did is when they introduced Creedence, which it wasn't, we stood up, all of us, together and walked out.
Wow.
And Stu and I went and got really, really drunk.
Why would
It was
you?
one of those nights when I really needed to work out.
What 2 glasses of wine were in call? I could.
More than that.
Right.
Anyway, to get the positive. 2 years after that, what we didn't realize that night, and it strengthens our bond. That night, the seeds were planted for Revisited. 2 years later,
Wow.
It happened when Stu moved up to Lake Tahoe, in the same town that I was living in. I got him to move up there, and we were jamming with bass and drums. I said, "I love you, bro, but this is pretty boring. So we need a band." And what better, John wasn't playing the songs except for at the Hall of Fame.
Right.
That he had refused to play the songs, wouldn't play them. Even touring, he wouldn't play the songs, and that really was pissed the audience off.
Of course.
They came to see hear the songs.
Yep.
He wouldn't do it. So we told him what we're going to do. We said, "You want to do it?" He said, "No." We had to do that, even though he had, done what he had done. We weren't going to be like him. And we said, "This is what we're doing, with or without you." So anyway, we went out and had success with it, and he sued us. So anyway, that's all all the negatives.
Right.
Right. Just for the record, the guy wrote brilliantly and sang brilliantly and had a real gift of talent, but he just missed some of the things that you shouldn't. It would have been an opportunity for him to move on too.
Yeah,
right.
We play, it's over.
Mm-hmm.
That would have been the right way to do it. But that's the way John is. He's always been that way, and I still love the guy. I mean, I don't like him. I don't like what he does and things he said, but I love him.
Sure.
We were kids. We went through our parents' divorces, and look what we did.
Yeah.
So in terms of that, it's a dysfunctional family.
Right.
What did dysfunctional families do?
Speaking of the extended family, Elliot Easton was the lead guitarist in the early years of Creedence Clearwater Revisited. How did you come to be associated with him? Because one would look at Creedence as existing in another era and a different style of rock, maybe from the Cars.
And that's absolutely true. But what really happened there was Elliot, when he was first learning to play guitar, was a huge Creedence fan.
Right.
He had all the records. He sat in his room and played just like we used to do, put the needle down on a song and learned it, and went through all the Creedence stuff, played every lick, and it helped his library and his foundation to being a great guitar player. My favorite part of the Cars records were the lead guitar.
Right.
He would do like Chet Atkins type of
That was the closest thing
licks.
to rock and roll that a pop group did for me. I mean, I liked the Cars. I thought they were kind of quirky, especially with O'Kasic's vocals.
Sure.
Once he sang, Dan Orr had that crooner's voice.
Yeah.
They were a great band, but gave Elliot a chance to play what he basically grew up on. We cut his teeth on. So he's a brilliant player, and we were lucky to have him for 10 years. And then the Cars reunited. So,
Right.
That was an interesting thing. So yeah, we were fortunate to have him in there.
The group, the lineup now, and it's been this way for years, is such a solid, beautiful representation of these songs. You guys, you and Stu, just locking in there, and it lays down on such a great foundation for these guys to come in with the leads and the rhythms that we know, and I think you guys do a phenomenal job and on stage. And I do want to bring up the fact that you guys are going to be doing. I mean, you're doing a slew of gigs in July and August. You're going to be in Arizona on the 10th, of course, Laughlin, Nevada, at the Edgewater Casino on the 11th of July. Anaheim, Albany, and Oregon. You got a ton of shows. Doug, let me ask you a question. We're going to be wrapping up soon. We're going to be running out of time. And this might be silly, but does the phrase, because he's cosmic, because he's a man of nature, does that hold true? Do you identify with that phrase?
That is true. I mean, it's absolutely true. I was an amateur entomologist as a kid. I collected butterflies and moths, and then I collected, and then I traded with collectors all over the world. So I couldn't afford to go buy these things, so I found a network of other collectors, and they would send me a list of things that they wanted, and I would send them a list of things that I wanted, and so we did it that way. So I became a hunter, basically. I'd go out and hunt. Hello?
Yeah.
Yeah. You just, and is that the formation of man of nature?
Oh, we lose you? Oh, man.
No.
Sounds like we lost Cosmo. Our cosmic uplink went down.
Just when we were getting the secret.
Doug,
are you there? Off. Well, Jeremy.
What a pain in the you-know-where.
Oh, I know, right there and then. Maybe we could get... Maybe we can get a quick wrap up.
5 minutes, just so that we can, pay our goodbye.
Oh, due respect.
Yeah.
Let's do this one. Let's do this. Let's turn it around. We'll be right back. My name's Eddie Winters.
And I'm Jeremy Wheat, and we got Doug Clifford back.
Back on the line. Doug, are you with us?
I'm with you.
All right. Woo! So glad to have you back on the program. We don't know what happened, a little technical difficulties, but we were just in close. We wanted to wrap up with you. By the way, we want to thank you from the bottom of our hearts for spending your morning with us and sharing these insights. And
well, I really enjoyed it. You guys are great. You're professionals, and we're having fun.
Well, you know what? Honestly, it's been a super pleasure to just be able to get deep with you and talk about these, some of the memories and, of course, what you guys are doing on the road. And, of course, we just wanted to, thank you again. And also, everybody can come and visit you guys on the web at CreedenceClearwaterRevisited.com and check out your tour dates. And I wanted to ask, is there, in closing, and to add on a positive note, you guys have a lot of shows lined up. Is there anything that we can look out for from you guys in the future? Anything that's going to be exciting you, and you want to let the listeners know about?
Well, just we're out rocking and rolling, and if you like Creedence, you're going to love this band. So that pretty well summarizes it.
Well, you know what? I'm excited. We're going to go. You guys are going to be in the Bay Area in a couple of weeks, and we'd love to come out and check out the show and see you lay down the groove in person, baby. It's going to be. I'm excited for it, and I do want to say to give Stu and the rest of the group our best. And we really do wish you guys continued success throughout the year.
Well, I appreciate it. I mean, we just very, very fortunate to be doing what we love to do.
Well, please come back anytime, Doug.
Yes, of course. Please do.
We loved having you today.
We got a whole slew of other questions.
You know, there's still stuff I want to ask you about.
Yes.
So come back anytime you want.
We'll do a part 2.
Okay.
I love it.
You want me to do he's cosmic. He's a man of nature.
Yeah, you can have the whole hour just to talk about your cosmic interests.
Okay. Well, I'll try not to do that. Stu and I went to San Jose State, and we were living in the animal house. I mean, we really were.
Oh boy.
At an old Victorian that was just dirty, vermin, insect overrun piece of crap, but we loved it.
Sounds like my house.
Had the best parties in campus too. But anyway, they called me Clifford C. Clifford in the house. I don't know where that came from. But, hey, Clifford C. Clifford, blah, blah, blah. Okay, yeah, I'll go take care of that. But anyway, I was an amateur entomologist as a kid, so I knew about insects. I got into studying the colony insects, which are bees, wasps, ants, and termites. And we had roaches that you couldn't believe. But guys would come up, eat half a hamburger, throw it on the floor. We were really pigs. That's one of the problems. And it also fed the ants. They did a really good job of keeping the ants going. And we, tried to have pest control come out, and they could never get rid of the ants. So, had a meeting and said, you guys are going to have to clean up and keep it clean, and I'll get rid of the ants. They said no one's going to have been able to do it. Well, back in those days, you could buy poison that was so strong that you could kill an entire state with just a gallon of this stuff, and you could buy it in the hardware store for God's sakes. So anyway, I bought my poison and I set my date, and I said it's going to take 2 weeks before this stuff filters down to the clean. But when that happens, bingo, gone. And they said, we'll see. Well, we did see, and I was successful, and they were gone. So we were having a toga party, getting half schnockered on cheap wine. I didn't have to worry about just one glass back in my college days. And anyway, somebody yelled out, "Hey, Clifford C. Clifford, what does the C stand for?" And this is 1965, and the first hippie in the house said, "Stands for Cosmo." Because he's cosmic, he's a man of nature.
There it is.
He got rid of the bugs. So
through chemical means.
and dangerous stuff. Don't do this at home. And Stu and everybody in the band calls me Cos or Cosmo, and so it lives on. And I'm proud to wear that badge of the man of nature.
I love it. It's such a great story, and it holds true. I mean, it really is.
Oh man,
true story.
That's great. Well, Cos, it's been a pleasure, and I gotta say thanks so much for again for being on the program and talking with us this morning. And you know what? We're gonna catch you on the stage live. I'm so excited to see you this summer. So you know what? Stay in touch, and we'll get you back on hopefully sometime soon, and do it again. You know what I mean?
Sounds good to me.
You're the best, Doug. Thank you so much.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, appreciate it, guys.
You got it. Well, have a good one, Doug, and take care.
Thanks, Eddie and Jeremy.
You got it. Take care. There it is.
Bye-bye.
All right. Doug Cosmo Clifford.